This simple trick improved his success, retirement success, from 51 to 97%. So I'm talking to a guy today, he and his wife, and just a great conversation with these folks. Good people. He's just stressed. He said he's 40 to 50 pounds overweight. His stress level is high. He's got diabetes. I think it's type 2. That's type 1 I think you're born with or something like that. He's on just various blood pressure stuff. He's just, he's had a good job. He's had a good career, but he said, man, just traveling just is starting to really grind on him. He's getting ground down. Anyway, so they moved from a pretty urban place to a more a nicer place, a nicer kind of community that's just out of the grind. You know what I'm saying? It's just he's relaxed there, but he still is like just getting out on the road traveling. So they got a nice house, expensive. And he's like, but he still got to travel on occasion. He's like, I just wonder if I can hang it up. His wife's cool with him hanging up. She has a job she likes. He makes a lot more money than she does, but she's doing okay. And we're running the numbers, and initially it came into Monte Carlo a 51% probability of success, and I could tell he was just like, man, I was hoping not. And so look, I pre-plan for this stuff. So I crunched some numbers where I'm like, all right, how can we improve this? So I had a trick hidden up my sleeve to make these guys work, to make it work for them. But I wasn't going to tell them right out the gate. You know what I'm saying? I wanted to get a gauge of what they're doing and stuff like that. Anyway, so we get down to it, and I'm like, all right, let's crunch some numbers here. So I click on the retirement to give us our Monte Carlo probability of success. And look, I don't care what anybody says, 51% is still pretty low. That doesn't make me comfortable. Because that means if you roll a dice, half the time you need to make some serious adjustments on your spending. Half the time you might be fine, but that's not a good enough probability for me. And I use pretty conservative numbers, by the way. I'm only giving this guy 4.9% expected rate of return with a 10.5% standard deviation. So what that means is I'm basically giving a 5% average rate of return with a 10% volatility around the average rate of return. Within 3 standard deviations, that means on any given year, he could be down 25%, which is exactly what happened in 2008. So I'm coming at you pretty negative. But remember, historically, our rates of return for a 60-40 portfolio are much, much higher than 4.9. You see what I'm saying? So I'm giving very low expected rates of return, very high volatility. And so he's only coming at 51%, and they don't even spend that much money. But the reason he's only coming in at 51% is because when they sold their house in their urban area and they moved to their more their retirement area, if that makes sense, they did take a mortgage, and they got a mortgage of $600,000 or so. And unfortunately, they bought the house when the interest rates were sky high, so they're paying like 8% or something like that. Now, they'll refinance at some point, but that's what we're talking about. But a $600,000 loan on a 30-year mortgage, I can't remember what the amortization schedule was, but that's a pretty significant mortgage interest plus principal payment. So I think they were paying like $50,000-$60,000 a year just on their house costs, if that makes sense. And that just sucks, dude. You know what I'm saying? Maybe it's even more than I just can't remember. I can't remember what the amortization was. So he's got about $1.8 million, and all in pre-tax money. And again, that kind of sucks too. And I'm like, man, you're only coming at 51%, but let me show you what we can do. What if, when you retire, because he's still going to be on his wife's Medicare, or not Medicare, health care, because his wife has a job that she doesn't mind. She says, I like my job, my boss is awesome, my boss's boss is awesome. So wife is, she likes what she does. And so he's now on her health care. Now, it's not cheap. I think they pay $800 a month or something like that for the health care for her. But because he's going to be on her health care until she hangs up the boots in a couple of years, she's going to still work until she's on Medicare. We don't have to worry about Obamacare stuff. So I told him, I said, what if you just took, $200,000 a year from your portfolio to pay off your mortgage? All right, so you got basically 1.5, I think you had 1.4 in his 401k. And we're going to say it's going to cost us, let's say $800,000 with taxes to pay off a $650,000 mortgage, whatever it was, I can't remember. But it's going to cost us $800,000 because what we're going to do is we're going to take off $200,000 a year, and over the course of 3 to 4 years to pay off that mortgage. And that $200,000 a year plus your wife's income they'll be in the middle of the 24% tax bracket. So you're going to lose for every $200,000, you'll probably lose $35,000 or so, or $40,000 or so, and I guess it's $50,000 actually is what I'm thinking. $50,000 or so in taxes. Yeah, that's what I did. $50,000. So it's going to cost them $200,000 in taxes, exactly. So you're going to take out $200,000. That's $150,000 a year net because you're going to give $50,000 to Snippy Joe, and you're going to have $150,000, and you're going to pay off that mortgage in basically 450. Yeah, basically 4 years. And that's going to coincide when your wife goes on Medicare. He will be on Medicare before that, and you don't have to worry about Obamacare stuff. Yeah, you're going to get hit with some taxes, but guess what? You don't have a mortgage to pay. And if we do that, your probability of success now goes to 97%. Why? Because we're not carrying that significant expense. Not only is that significant expense expensive from a mortgage interest perspective, because the interest rate is 8%, but you have to pay tax on the money to pay the interest as it is. So let's just say it's $80,000 a year. I can't remember exactly what it is to pay for his mortgage. You have to earn $80,000 a year just to pay the mortgage. That $80,000 a year you got to earn is going to cost you, we'll just say, an average 15% tax. That's another $10,000 to $12,000 a year in taxes just to pay the mortgage payment, which is heavily favored on the interest because you're just at the beginning of the 30-year amortization. So now what we're doing is we're going to wipe all that out in 4 fell swoops, 200, 200, 200, 200, be done with it, roughly. And when we're done with that, we don't have to make any money to pay off that mortgage. And so now, because they don't spend very much, all of our sudden our spending now drops by half. Because they spend about $5,000 a month. You know, they got a nice house, there's high property tax, the homeowners insurance isn't cheap, but still, we just knocked off about 40% of the total expenditures by reducing their portfolio. Now, part 2 of this is their interest is 8%. I'm only giving them a 4.9% rate of return on the portfolio. Oh, part 3 is they're saving Social Security until they're 70. All right? So basically, we're going to attack that portfolio pretty significantly for the next, 8 years or so. I can't remember exactly, maybe 7 years. 7 years. Because they're both going to wait till they're 70 to take Social Security. So I told him, look, the worst case scenario is when you guys are on Social Security, you're making $90,000 a year without a mortgage. You tell me you can't get by on that if you ran out of money. You said, huh? You didn't run out of income. You might have ran out of portfolio value, but no, not even coming anywhere near that if they follow my strategy. But I said, you tell me you can't get by on $90,000 to $95,000 a year just for Social Security with no debt? Come on now. Of course they can. But the issue is we don't even want to have to go there. Because the 97% success rate says they have money when the woman, in this case, the wife dies. We'll call her Mary Ann. When Mary Ann dies, what's the likelihood she has money left over? 97% of the time she has money left over. If she did not do this strategy and pay off the mortgage, 51% of the time she has money. Dude, I'm telling you. See, and this is, lately I haven't had to do this. I've been saying the exact opposite. People say, man, I don't know if I would pay off the mortgage because their mortgage is locked in like 2 3/8, 2.375. I'm like, man, you're getting 5 at the bank right now. It's hard to make a justification if you're getting 5 to take that 5 you're getting and paying it against something that's costing you 2.5 for simplicity. In this case, exact opposite. They're not getting. They're paying 8, and I'm only giving a 4.9 with all the volatility as it goes with it. Oh, but Josh, what about the growth of the portfolio? Dude, this is what I'm talking about. When you're in retirement, the growth is secondary. We've got to use the portfolio the most efficient way possible. And the efficiency is like if I'm costing me 8 over here, I'm only expecting to get 5 over there. I don't care if I'm expecting to get 6 or 7 or even 8. I still got to pay tax on the money. And on top of that, the portfolio isn't a linear rate of return. It's volatile. So I might be getting 8 on an average basis. But remember, sequence of return risk. I might not get 8. I might get negative 10, negative 20, negative 30 the first couple of years. If I do, I still get 8% mortgage. Anyway, so they were just freaking hog heaven. And, see what they do. But I was like, man, just bite the bullet, pay the tax, pay off the mortgage. It increases their probability of success significantly, almost doubled. All right. Love your thoughts. God bless. We'll see you.